Hello, everybody. It's Phil Jacobus. It's November 3rd. It's election day. I'm in my office in New York City. I voted today. I won't tell you for whom I voted, but those of you who know me can probably guess. Um, we're joined today by a very interesting Mr. Kelvin Coleman, who is an expert on cybersecurity, and he'll be joining us in a few minutes. I know that you're going to enjoy that interview. Before we join Mr. Coleman, let's take a look at a few things that are in our news today, our online news. One, you see that Aetna is going to pay $1 million over HIPAA violations. Interesting, sort of a reverse cybersecurity issue. We see there is a story about a new pet tracer. For those of you who are involved in molecular imaging, this is an interesting story. Also, something we wrote about how radiation therapy facilities are expanding, but not for rural sites, and how Siemens signed a 10-year partnership with the University of Iowa Health System, is sort of taking a page from the book, a European book. As always, I encourage you to sign up for our online news. It's free, and you can target the type of news you receive. Uh, I'll be fired if I don't put a plug in, so please go to .met and sign up for our daily news. So, as promised, today I'm joined by Kelvin Coleman, who is the executive director of the National Cybersecurity Alliance, the so-called NCSA. And I feel lucky to have Kelvin with us. He's a casual guy and says that I can call him Kelvin. So what a beautiful man. Kelvin has advised governors and presidents. He worked in the George W. Bush administration and the Barack Obama administration. He's advised 35 different governors, the NSA, the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, and the Office of Cyber Communications. He's a really charming fellow. And Kelvin, thanks for joining us.
Phil, it's so great to be here with you, my friend.
So, Kelvin, not everyone is familiar. As a matter of fact, I just recently learned of the National Cybersecurity Alliance. So, let's start by telling us about that, if you would.
Yeah, we are the model public-private partnership convener, right? That's a mouthful, but basically, we are that organization in between government and the private sector, helping to bring those two together as it relates to technology, especially as it relates to educating the public on cybersecurity, Phil. Yeah, our three primary goals, we convene, right? Convene those partners, we educate people, and we amplify best practices. And with our 30 members and private sector members of the National Cybersecurity Alliance, totaling about 7.1 trillion in market cap, they really empower us to go out and talk to the 360 million Americans in 50 states and 6 territories. And increasingly, they want us to engage with the global community, which we saw this past year. I'm sorry, Phil, this past month, October, with Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We partner with folks from Nigeria, the UK, Canada, around the world to talk about cybersecurity.
Is it a matter of public record who some of your members are?
Yeah, I have 30 of them, so I don't want to leave any of them out, but it is on our website. If you could think of some of the big tech giants in the field, they're with us. You think about the Facebooks and the Microsofts. I could name those, but we also have some non-traditional members that you may not think of right away. Think about an Eli Lilly and an AIG, a Marriott, which shows the breadth and depth of cybersecurity, but also 6 financial services companies, right? MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, US Bank. We have a number of companies representing different parts of our economy.
So getting all of those people to work together must be a little like herding cats.
It's actually felt really a fun task. And when I say fun, enjoyable, right? Because, of course, if you look at, for example, MasterCard, Visa, and American Express as an example, in the marketplace, obviously, they are really fighting for market share and they're fighting for customers and clients. Within the confines of the National Cybersecurity Alliance, they come in as colleagues and friends, seriously, to do what's best for the common good of our country. And so it's less hurting cats as opposed to um, you know directing bulls, right? To
Yes.
go in the right direction.
So how is this your brainchild or did you inherit this?
I inherited. The National Cybersecurity Alliance has been around for about 20 years. Phil, we, have really enjoyed great relationships throughout the years, and I've been the executive director and the CEO for about 2 years now. But I can tell you, this is like me as a fish in water. This is a really a dream job. I'm really enjoying myself, sort of being that in between guy who's establishing partnerships in technology because I feel oftentimes we forget that technology is broken into three parts, right? Products, very important, processes, but people. We often forget the people part because maybe that part isn't as exciting. But guess what? Very exciting to me to bring people together.
Okay. So, as you know, healthcare business news, or as you may know, healthcare business news concentrates on healthcare and hospitals and capital equipment. Um, why is healthcare such a desirable target for hackers?
Phil, it boils down to two things, right? Personally identifiable information and protected health information, right? When you're able to, in these days, the bad actors have been able to really, monetize information. And so, if you can sell someone's information on the dark web or sell it to the highest bidder, it could be a pretty good day for you. And so, in healthcare, we hold a lot of personally identifiable information about individuals, social security numbers, addresses, other information that sort of points back to who you are, as well as protected health information. That's information about, obviously our health and who we are. And that information is valuable to bad actors, especially in aggregate, right? If you're able to sort of put together, several profiles, it's just some really, really valuable gold for bad actors to be able to monetize.
Now, Kelvin, next is a two-part question. Each part is worth 50 points. Uh, is there a solution or a strategy to reducing the influx of these cyber attacks going forward? Part A and part B, uh, what can the average person do to protect themselves from this sort of from cyber attacks?
I think I'm going to pass this one, Phil, because I have the same answer for both questions. I think oftentimes, my job is to demystify cybersecurity. So your question presumes that I would have a solution for healthcare providers, right? And then I would have another set of solutions for individuals, when really the solutions can be applied to both groups. And what do I mean by that, Phil? I'm from a rural town, not even a town, a little rural country place in South Carolina. My mother and father taught me that often the simplest solution is the best. And in this particular case, for both healthcare entities as well as individuals, doing things like having robust passwords, right, for your devices, the healthcare devices as well that our healthcare providers use, as well as those individual devices. A good password, Phil, goes a long way these days. Alphanumeric, capitalized, lowercase. I know, again, that's not as exciting as a lot of people would want in terms of a solution, but it works. And think about this, Phil. In order to, cut down on people getting COVID or even cold and flu, our healthcare providers say, hey, wash your hands, cough into your elbow, right? Use a mask. Those are not terribly exciting things, Phil, but they work. And we know they work. And they're low hanging fruit solutions. Same thing in technology. having a unique, robust password can really go a long way. In addition, enabling your multi-factor authentication. So if the user thinks about passwords as sort of the lock on the door, think about multi-factor authentication as the deadbolt on the door. It gives you that extra protection that can really go a long way. And finally, I have a number of things people can do, but finally, making sure that you update your devices as soon as you possibly can. Phil, you like me, like everyone else, we receive those things that say, hey, update now or update later. You want to update now so that your device gets the latest security patches that it needs to fight off malicious malware. And so if we just do those three things, again, both healthcare entities as well as individuals, we'll go a long way. Great passwords, multi-factor authentication, and making sure we're updating our devices as soon as possible.
Now, this might be a naive question, but the people that break into hospital networks, do they do that by reverse engineering the password?
Sometimes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a thing called password spraying. And what that is, Phil, is when a bad actor will literally just spray commonly used passwords across an account. It would be pretty easy, right? If you had a healthcare entity X, and that's the name of that entity, right? And the bad actor is able to say, what they usually do is use first name and last initial and at healthcare entity X, right? And so they already have this sort of username and how they can get into the system. All you need now is your passwords, and literally they'll again, password spray, password one or password or 1234 or I love you, commonly used passwords that people unfortunately still rely on, and the bad actors know that. Phil, this is a what's called a low risk, high reward tactic. I mean, and with the bad actors have artificial intelligence as well, right? They have botnets, they have things that can really multiply their ability to get into systems. And so, it's high reward, low risk for them. But yes, they do try to get into systems by simply using weak passwords.
Any idea what the impact globally is, or even nationally, of financial cost of hackers?
Well, it's for post COVID, we're still seeing what that impact is. But let me answer your question this way, Phil. We know that in 2018 alone, right, had almost $50 billion worth of telehealth services, right? So that was 2 years ago. Projections are saying that by 2026, that number is going to grow to about $226 billion worth of telehealth services, right? And so if you think about it, that makes sense because even 5 years ago, 2015, there were about 15 billion connected devices that we, were able to account for. 5 years later, today, Phil, we have 20 billion connected devices. 5 years from now, conservatively, we're saying that there are going to be about 60 billion connected devices, right? And so in the last 5 years, from 2015 to now, a 25% jump. From now to the next 5 years, same period, right? Same time allotment, a 300% jump. So we know people are going to be connecting, and we know telehealth services is going to be a big part of that. We know, for example, that starting the demand for telehealth services increased by 65% in 2020. Now, it still would have increased anyway without COVID, but because of COVID, it just really took off, Phil, and we're seeing that today. So, yeah, we are going to see a tremendous amount of telehealth services here in the future.
I use a password manager,
Mm-hmm.
and I do not have two-level encryption, or whatever it's called, two-level
Multi-factor.
So after we hang up, I'm gonna add that to or figure out how to do that, because there's so many passwords. you can't keep track of them all.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's
Unless you got
so
the
worth
same password over and over again, but that's stupid.
that.
Like,
That's not, yeah, that's not the best way to go, Phil. Right.
well, so what are your thoughts about the future? What are your plans for the future? Anything exciting or new that our readers should know about?
Yeah, thanks a lot for asking. We have this past month unveiled what we call, do your part, be cyber smart, right? We also now have a symbol that people can associate it with cybersecurity. If you think about the great work that the folks at Susan G. Coleman and breast cancer research, when you see that pink ribbon, you automatically think about breast cancer research. Well, we didn't necessarily have anything in the cybersecurity realm that identified cybersecurity for folks. This past month, we unveiled that with our companies and look forward to getting that to you. Perhaps your readers would be interested to see that. But the be smart, do your part, be cyber smart. Think about only you could prevent forest fires, or think about ticket and click it. Think about those public service campaigns that we have seen over the years that are very, very effective, that resonate with people, that help them to understand that, I need to be aware of this, right? Look both ways before you cross the street. We're doing that with do your part, be cyber smart. That's what we're really trying to, crank out for the public so that they can keep cybersecurity at the forefront of their minds. Because again, Phil, this is not going away anytime soon, right? The genie is not going to get back in the bottle. Technology is here. It's a part of our lives, and the bad actors know that, and they're going to take every advantage they can to exploit that. So we need to do everything we can to make sure the public is prepared to protect themselves.
Now, before we go, and if you want, we can cut this out. But I have to ask, does your group monitor or have any advice for foreign entities that are attempting to influence our political parties or our election or what's going on in the country?
Yeah, so I have actually done a number of other interviews, Phil, cable network news actually talking about this, right? The influence of, um, you know, foreign adversaries on specifically our election system. And again, we try to keep it pretty simple, right? And working with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, we talk about the three P's, right? Prepare, participate, and be patient. In other words, as a voter and as someone who wants to participate in the process, I want to prepare and make sure I know my issues. Right, I'm not necessarily relying on a link from Phil. No disrespect, right? Not relying from your perspective to tell me, hey, look at this link that I got from this obscure site that says bad stuff about candidate X. No, that's not a good way to go about it. What you do is do your own work, your own preparation. So prepare and certainly participate. Some people have been turned off in this process and will not be participating this time around. I think that's the wrong way to go. No, still participate, and you can even plot out how you're going to participate: mail in, absentee, in person, whatever the case is. And finally, of course, be patient. I've been saying to people, Phil, we probably are not going to know the winner, right? Officially, we're not, the night of the election. And that's okay. We just need to be patient and understand that that does not necessarily point to a nefarious plot or anything else going on. It simply means the secretaries of state, they want to get it right. And so prepare, participate, and be patient are the things that we advise people to do.
Okay. Well, in addition to being a charming guy, you are an interesting and well-informed guy, and I very much appreciate you spending time with me today.
Phil, it's really been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you again soon.